5 seconds.
I don't want to do that.
You're on.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, October 26, 2023, and we're here for a work session. And as always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Tim, can you please take the lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. And Devin? 3 minutes. Okay. So we're just awaiting one more person, but we're going to start. We have a few announcements today. They're brief, and the first one is before we get started with our busy agenda, this Saturday, October 28th, is our Halloween Fest in downtown Riverhead. Dress the whole family in costume and come on down and join us downtown for coffin races, trick-or-treating, food, beverages, and there's eventually going to be a Halloween parade. Every year it's a lot of fun. The food is great, and the kids get a lot of candy, and it's free. So bring them all down. Events begin at 2 p.m. on Griffin Avenue, and we hope to see everyone down there. And if you want to add to the parade, Tim? And
The parade starts at 6 o'clock, and participants are going to meet on Griffin Avenue,
that's the parade?
right across from the steps of the courthouse, and we'll march down through town and leave plenty of candy to be thrown out. And if it's anything like last year, it was packed and the weather looks good, so hopefully we're going to have a great event.
Yeah, you can go on to the bid website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the schedule events, the candy, I think it's like 3 o'clock?
I think at 3 o'clock, the kids can trick or treat up and down Main
Yeah.
Street to the businesses. The coffin races, I believe, start at 2, and then the parade will start at 6.
Yes. So, and that'll be great. Hope to see you there. Okay, before we get started with our regular work session agenda, and in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month, which is an annual celebration of the history and culture of the United States, Latino and Hispanic communities, and commemorates how these communities and individuals have influenced and contributed to America at large. While History Month, Hispanic History Month is from September 15th to October 15th. We're a little bit late, but we did open our town hall earlier this month. So we want to make sure that before we were on TV, we brought you in. We're fully operational now, and we have 3 individuals who now are going to see our, going to be part of our history here and see our new town hall. And I'm very pleased to have with us today 3 Latina women who are trailblazers in their own rights and who have charted path. While different, they have been equally impactful and beneficial to the Latino communities. First, it's Vanessa Pino-Lacal. She's the Executive Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County. She became the director in 2020. Not the best time to have that kind of title during COVID. I know I was in office. I just had gotten elected. I know the challenges, and she worked through her establishment through COVID-19, the pandemic, and she's managed and overseen growth of over $1 million since 2021, and it has expanded outreach throughout the community, Hispanic communities, and the elderly community. She's a trailblazer here. She works here in Riverhead. She's engaged with many boards and committees and associations. And Vanessa was named to the city and state responsible 100 New Yorkers who invested in improving our communities list. And she was the winner of the Suffolk County Hispanic Heritage Appreciation Award for dedicated service to the Latino community of Long Island. Vanessa also donates her time to various organizations, including as a committee member on the New York State Mentoring slash Latina Mentoring Initiative Committee for the Suffolk County. And she has served on other task force. And with that, Vanessa, we ask you to come forward. You're a true trailblazer here in Riverhead and to the Hispanic community. And if you want to just take a seat for a second, and we're going to read out for the other two honorees, okay? Next, we have Jennifer Cabrera. She's acting commissioner of the Suffolk County Department of Labor, Licensing and Consumer Affairs. She was sworn in by the county executive, Steve Ballone, exactly 2 weeks ago. Commissioner Cabrera is the first Afro-Latina to serve as commissioner, and is second, and the second consecutive female to serve in that position. Commissioner Cabrera served as a department Senior Deputy Commissioner for Employment and Workforce Development since June 2023, and she has been with the Suffolk County since April of 2022. Boy, you move really fast. Prior to joining Suffolk County, she held various positions in public and private sectors, managing and implementing educational workforce development plans that best serves the communities across the metropolitan regional area. Although my term as supervisor will end December 31st, I have no doubt, Commissioner, that our paths will cross. I invite Commissioner Cabrera to join us as a trailblazer up front until I read the third individual. Congratulations. In 2021, Montserrat embarked on a new venture, joining forces with founder Alexander Escobar to establish the Cafe Victoria and Market. The venue involved working on a comprehensive project focused on coffee inputs, processing, and distribution here in Riverhead. The culmination of her passion for coffee led to the opening of the Cafe Victoria Market, a coffee shop, in 2022 here in Riverhead at Tango Mall. Montserrat's love for baking has been a lifelong passion. She's a resident, she's a business an individual here in Riverhead, and we welcome Trailblazer Montserrat. I also would like to welcome up Jody Giglio, Assemblywoman Jody Giglio, who's also going to recognize these Trailblazers. And we also have Alexander Piccirillo from Senator Palumbo's office. They're also going to be up here to present certificates, and we can go down below and we'll give you theirs and they can give you theirs.
Tony I said hi.
I will.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, we will, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
Please, of course. No problem. Councilman, thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
So,
Yeah, I was on the board for Cornell for some time before she got on, and but I know her very well. So
yeah, she's
Vanessa's
great, right?
Yep.
I've worked with her through COVID and seniors, and she's been very good. So,
Worked with her for years.
Yeah.
She's so,
they're all excellent.
Great choice.
Love the business, the live
they're all
business,
good people.
you know?
Really, really
Yeah.
community people.
That's why I sent the email yesterday. I forgot to tell you guys. I was like, but. Okay, once again, thank you to our trailblazers. And moving on to our first discussion today, which is a presentation by the Crime Victims Center. We have Amanda Jesse and Towns Against Domestic Violence campaign here with us today. We partnered with the county crime victim services a few weeks ago to work with us, and they're here just to make a presentation. Who do we have here? So as we discussed, this is a work session. You're on TV. It's not a training session. We can't, we're just going to introduce the concept. And later on, what we can do is we can have something like at the senior center, and you're going to have your whole blown out domestic training program. So we have the board with us. Again, we're on TV, and you're just going to announce what your services, and know that we did partner with you a couple of weeks ago, and to make sure that we can work together. And there is a resolution that was passed last week. We can give you a copy before you leave, indicating that we are joining you in a partnership. So if you want to get that, we'll get it to you. You can go up to the office, third floor supervisor's office, and ask for a copy of that resolution. And where's Devin? I'll ask her to ensure that you get that. Okay? If you can get that resolution that partnered with them for last week for them. Yes, you want to come up to the table? You don't have to be up there. Be more comfortable. How's that? Yes, absolutely.
Let me just turn these mics so we can hear you. There you go.
So, Devin, is this on our website? This is on our website, just so you know. So whoever watches this, they can pull it up as
Okay,
a.
perfect.
a-
So
a-
really just what this is about.
Feel free.
So for the public, right? You introduce, your name and who you are, and welcome.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Amanda Jesser Pena. I'm with the Crime Victim Center. I'm the Prevention Education Program Manager there.
And my name is Luna Caceres. I am an educator from Long Island Against Domestic Violence.
Right. So at my agency at the Crime Victim Center, we're an agency that's dedicated to preventing and treating various different forms of abuse, child sexual abuse, sexual assault, domestic and family violence, as well as providing various different kinds of support services to all victims of violent crime, as well as anybody that is elderly, minor, and disabled victims of any kind of crime. We go about this initiative in a variety of different ways. So we have victim services. So we are considered a New York State certified rape crisis center. With that being said, we also have two 24-hour hotlines. So we have a 24/7 rape crisis hotline, as well as a 24/7 hate crimes hotline. What that means is individuals can call those numbers day or night, and they're always going to be matched up to a trained advocate who is a certified rape crisis counselor as well. These advocates go through extensive training. They are very much trauma informed, and individuals across Long Island and even beyond can call that phone number and know that they're able to get help and support services when they need it, even if it's not related to one of those two issues. They can get the referrals right then and there. We are also operating a SAFE program as well. So we have on our staff a certified nurse forensic examiner. So when a sexual assault happens on Long Island, we are able to have our forensic examiner dispatch and meet that victim at the hospital to be able to perform that forensic examination. From our staff, we also have a variety of trained rape crisis counselors, and somebody from our staff would also go meet that individual at the hospital and make sure that they are getting the support services that they need, that their rights are being respected, and that they are getting any kind of accommodations that they need in that process. Because we're also a crime victim center, we help to match individuals, victims of crimes, up with various different kinds of support services. So we have a variety of trained and qualified trauma-informed advocates on our staff. And when a crime happens, they reach out to these victims, see what they need, what kind of support services do they need. For example, if they were the victim of a crime and they had to go to the hospital as a result, we all know that that is extremely expensive, and they are able to submit those bills into the Office of Victim Services to hopefully get it so they don't have to pay those bills, right? Or they can get those bills reimbursed. We look at our referral database and see what kind of help individuals might need, whether it's counseling, it's help through the Office of Victim Services, it's filing for an order of protection, it's accompaniment to the hospital or to law enforcement, to court. We try to meet victims where they are and see what help they need. And with that intake process, we also see what kind of help they might need, even beyond what they're going through related to the crime. If this is an individual that is food insecure, that is something that would come up during our intake process, and we're going to try and get them help in that situation. All those help that we're able to provide, it's for all victims of violent crime, and once again, anybody that's an elderly, minor, disabled victim of any kind of crime. We also have prevention education. So that's the department that I oversee at the Crime Victim Center. So we do education programs from pre-K through 12th grade. These programs are all trauma-informed. They're very much trauma-informed. They're curriculum-based education, evidence-based, if not evidence-informed curriculum. And we, for the different school districts on Long Island in both counties, we're able to fulfill Aaron's Law requirements for pre-K through 8th grade. The programs are very, extremely varied in nature, but we focus on things like relationship violence. What is consent? What is healthy boundaries? What are kids' resources both inside and outside of school? My department, we also operate a college program as well. So we have a trained college educator, and she goes out within Suffolk County and works to educate students, educate professionals at the school, educate staff on Title IX, Enough is Enough, as well as students' rights and resources under both of those things. We also work to educate professionals working with children. We provide staff trainings as well. We have Megan's Law Community Support. So we have trained law enforcement, retired law enforcement at our office, and they go out within Nassau and Suffolk County to verify the sex offender registry, those individuals on the registry, where they're living, where they're working, right, and make sure that the information is up to date for families, for community members, and with that we have our free email alert program to notify those family members on this. We next have policy and legislative support. So that's very much what we did a couple weeks ago. We look to identify things at the local, state, and federal level related to victims' rights. What are things that families might need on Long Island, and we try to recommend needed support. I'm going to turn it over to Luna so she can actually go into her services as well.
Okay, and just, I'm sorry, just like, of course, excuse me, as I had mentioned, these are also the services that we provide, and we work very well with each other. We have a 24-hour hotline as well that is 24/7. It can also be reached on Saturdays and Sundays by victims or survivors of domestic violence. We have a safe harbor shelter as well, and that is the only shelter in the whole Long Island that actually takes pets. In other words, when a victim or survivor wants to leave the abuser and they feel like they can't because of their pets, we actually take them with their pets. And then we have court and precinct advocacy and legal services. We actually have an advocate in every precinct and also in the court system, because a lot of victims and survivors, they feel intimidated by the situation, so they need at least like that hand or that support system. And then we also have counseling and individual with group counseling, which is support group counseling, and then vocational and financial literacy, which is resume preparation, college prep, job placement, anything that has to do with skills building. And then my department is the one that covers covers the prevention, education, and outreach. So what I do is I actually go to different facilities. I go to different colleges, universities, rehab centers, elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and I educate youth and adolescents on the dangers of domestic violence, teen dating violence, consent, cyber abuse, and cyber digital privacy, cyberbullying. I also do teen dating violence for parents, so that way they can be aware of what could look like. And we also provide community outreach, so that way the community knows what to expect or what to look out for, so that way they could prevent for something happening. And if it does get past where it happens, we're there to support them and to help them.
So we obviously know when it comes to things like relationship abuse, this is a huge problem. This is something that does not discriminate at all. We know nearly 1 in 2 trans and non-binary people, 1 in 3 women, and nearly 1 in 9 men in the United States have experienced some form of intimate partner violence during their lifetime. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this equals more than 10 million women and men in the United States experiencing this. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime, to the point in which they felt very fearful or believed that they or somebody close to them would be harmed or killed. On a typical day, we know that there are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to domestic violence hotlines nationwide, right? So the big idea here is that we know that 100% of us are in relationships, any kind of relationship, so whether that's a romantic relationship or a relationship with a friend. All of us can also work to improve our relationship health, and every single one of us deserves to have healthy relationships. We know that talking about relationships, this is extremely challenging, right? This is something not a lot of us want to have these kinds of conversations or open up about, but we know that this is something that is important for every single one of us, and especially important for the young people in our lives to start having these kinds of conversations, so they can recognize those healthy and unhealthy behaviors. So the Towns Against Domestic Violence initiative, it's really trying to bring all these towns together to take a stand about domestic violence and understand that this is a huge problem. This is something that affects all of us. This is something that does not discriminate based on age, based on gender, based on socioeconomic status. And this is something that all of us can stand to learn more about these healthy and unhealthy behaviors, as well as what our rights and our resources are. What are those resources for children in school and outside of school? What are those resources for victims as well? So that's really what we want to do with this program, and we look forward to being able to continue to work with you and bring this education to others.
Great. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to it as well.
It's clearly an impressive program that you put together. One of the things that just struck me is I'm on the board of Island Harvest Food Pantry, and you said that if food insecurity is something that you deal with. Do you deal with the food pantries at all, the food banks?
I know. We have a whole referral system within our agency, and oftentimes our advocates would refer out to the various food pantries and do that warm handoff, connect them with that kind of resource.
That's at the base of all of these problems, is food insecurity, believe it or not, on Long Island. You would think it wouldn't be, because it was such a rich island, but it affects so many people here.
It is a huge problem, and even though the island is very rich, it's not very rich for everybody, right?
Exactly.
So there is a lot of people
Exactly.
where this is a very real issue, and that could also be a stressor within the household that can contribute to other issues within a household.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
having
much
us.
for
I just
having
have one
us.
question. Do you deal with fraud against seniors at all, whether it's phone scams, blah, blah, blah?
So yes, actually frequently at our agency, we help all victims who are elderly, minor, disabled victims of any kind of crime. So seniors, we frequently deal with phone scams. So we know that this is a huge problem. People get calls all the time. I know half the time I don't even answer my phone because it's a scam at this point. But we will get reports, police reports of seniors who were scammed. And in those circumstances, oftentimes we're able to submit claims to the Office of Victim Services, so that way that senior can get some form of reimbursement. Now, depending on the extent, how big of the scam is, they might not always be able to get the full amount. There are limitations to it, but at least that senior is able to get some kind of support, some kind of refund back, essentially. In that kind of circumstance, too, we would also do an intake with that senior to see what kind of other help they might need. Is there other support services? And then use our referral database to connect them to those resources.
I ask this because over the last year and a half, I've done 2 seminars with seniors on fraud, try to keep them up to date and help them when they've called me. And, I'd like to get your card and because I think it's important, things morph, right? And there's more and more scams, blah, blah, blah. Now, the last one was we were into make sure you have a password, right? Because of AI, they can impersonate their grandchild's voice and think that they've got to pay whatever $1,000 because they're in Bali in a jail or something.
I know it's an issue that is becoming more and more prevalent, and it can be extremely scary oftentimes. And this is something I have personally done presentations with some senior groups in the community, just so they're aware of the resources, they're aware of the help that we can provide. I'm sure Luna has done the same as well. But what I would want seniors to know in this kind of circumstance, don't blame yourself, right? Don't feel embarrassed about the situation, because unfortunately this is something that a lot of people are affected by, and just reach out for help in that kind of circumstance.
Yeah, I know one woman that was completely wiped out, and she was brave enough to share her story with a room full of people. And so, yeah, I need to get your card.
Yeah, I will certainly leave my
Great,
card here.
thank
I would
you.
love to be able to partner to bring that education.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The unfortunate thing is we have to talk about this. We need this. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
What is very fortunate is what we do have, because the programs that are in place, and they've gotten so much better. I was a police officer for 32 years, and about 20 years of that I was a detective in charge of the juvenile division and handled a lot of child sex abuse cases. And there's nothing more comforting for the family to know that there's a place they can go that's not so sterile like the police department, and where we could take the victims and they could be talked to by trained experts. And they help the police tremendously, because it's a learning experience for us each time we have it. And if you haven't gone through it, you can't fully understand it. But the caring people that work through these services and through these agencies are well aware, and they make the victim feel as comfortable as a victim can be in that situation. And for that, I'm very thankful for the work that you do, because it's tragic, the stuff that happens. It really is, and it's hard to deal with. But knowing that there's care, hope, and support out there makes each victim feel so much better. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you so much for saying that. Once again, this is something, all kinds of crimes, but especially things like domestic violence, that it's something that doesn't discriminate, impacts too many families, all across Long Island, but all across the country. And I really just making sure that people know that there is support out there, that there are various kinds of resources is extremely important, as well as starting to bring those conversations earlier and earlier with children, right? So they could start recognizing signs of unhealthy relationships, start understanding when their boundaries are being pushed. If they have that kind of healthy understanding as to what those boundaries are, they're going to recognize when something is wrong, right? If they know who their resources are, they're going to be a lot more likely to reach out for assistance.
And it's important that they're made aware that they don't have to live, or it doesn't have to continue on the way that things are. If you grew up in an abusive household, you may not be aware that other households, there are better ways to live. There are better things that can be done.
Absolutely.
And that through education and letting them know what these services are, how they can get to them, when they're available, through the schools, through every part of, or every resource that we have to use to get the victims the information that they need. And it's tough. I mean, it's easy for us to talk about it, but if you've lived it and been through it, it's just entirely different. It's entirely different, and we need to understand that.
Right. I think we need to understand that, and then just also at the same time, have that understanding towards victims, people experiencing this, because so many times, they know the full extent to what they're going through. And it might take them multiple tries to kind of get out of this situation.
Right.
So really extending empathy towards that person, and understanding, and just, being that supportive person no matter who you are, so that way that person can reach out eventually when they feel comfortable doing so.
Understanding the guilt of the victim.
Right.
Yep,
Because
exactly.
the victims so often feel guilty or at fault. And that's huge. That's real important to make them understand it wasn't their fault.
Exactly.
And that, there are things that can be done, and do not feel guilty. You're trying to make yourself or your family's lives better, and that's what you need to do.
Exactly.
And that's what you help them with. And
We're
that's-
very dedicated, like the two agencies, we work together, and we know when we do statistics and we do the research that the high numbers are there. We're aiming for low numbers, because high numbers mean we're incidents. Low numbers mean at least that we're pushing, so that way everyone is aware of what to look out for, what not to look out for. There's help there for you. Don't feel guilty. You can talk to someone, because every time I say, for example, when I teach in the education class, when I go to high schools, which I'm completely booked November, December, I have so much fun with these adolescents because they're eager to learn about what they have to look out for.
And that's important, because you're getting people when they're earlier.
Yes.
And the misinformation is not becoming reality for them. And there's in your field, and I know you know it well, there's what's called a domestic violence circle. And so people get in. And by the way, this applies to males also. So if people think it's just kids or women, I'm sorry, I hate to tell you. So you have the domestic violence circle, right? So the circle doesn't have an opening. So you have an incident, then you move forward, and then it becomes what's called a honeymoon period. I'm so sorry, I'm going to take you away, I'm going to buy you this, we're going to do this. And then everything is good for a little while, and then what happens is the circle's never open. Then you start different types, and it can be psychological, it can be verbal, and it can be physical. It's not always physical, and a lot of people think that it's always physical. It's not.
It's not.
In fact, most of the time, it does happen often, but the psychological and the verbal is also just as important. And then you might start with the psychological, and you move on, and then we
Attention
become,
building.
yep. And then all of a sudden you're back into that circle because the circle's not open. And so your job is to try to break that circle. And that circle is hard, because whether it's a guy or a woman, a male or female, they might not want to leave their kids. They will worry about that food insecurity. The Councilman Honorable Council Bayrod was talking about. And so we move forward, all right, and you try to break that, and maybe sometimes, and I know you've experienced it, you think you have somebody that you're going to help, and they can't make that jump. They can't just go over that threshold where there's all these services, and everybody's there to help them. People are going to champion. I was shocked, and I never heard that you can do pets, because that's important.
Yes.
When you said that, it actually blew me out of the water, because I said, perfect, because pets is part of the family, and that's also one of the difficulties in moving forward. And just so you know, I have a copy here for you. Back in February 17th, after we had that meeting with Suffolk County crime victims, we established a Riverhead Outreach and Services Committee. And I'll give you a copy of this resolution. I'm going to send everybody's name that's on here. So the committee consists of Laura Ahern or her designee, okay, as a representative of the Suffolk County crime victims. And we also have Teresa Santoro. She's the representative for Catholic Health, because they'll be able to assist with medical. They have buses that they can bring into a community health bus. There's a lot of outreach there. Then we have Nina Lockel. Again, all of these are, or their designee, and she's from she's from EAC, East End Advocacy for Children, another organization that open here. And then we have Lisa Frittel from East End Disabilities, because we know that the disabled are a very vulnerable population. And last but not least, we have Cherie Christmas or her designee from Dress for Success, for women who may need employment, may need counseling, and they do a lot of referrals. So we thought this would be a good mix to bring you all guys together. You'll have an office here. Okay, you can meet by Zoom. So now you got it, guys. The committee has been formed. You have the legislation in place, and now you can reach out to me, and we can start the first meeting here. And this is great because now individuals can go to one place to get assistance, and everybody's doing a great job. And there's a lot of services there. So if you want to take this with you, I'll reach out to you within the next week or so, and we'll start this process for the committee. And thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank
And,
you, ladies.
and get back to Ahern because I told her we were going to be a partner. Let her know.
Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You.
Okay, so next I'm going to ask Dawn Thomas and Planning Charters to please come forward to discuss matters surrounding amendment to Chapter 225-11B Type 1 actions.
Can I make one comment? So we get these work session codes. It would be really great if we could get them a week before. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
even read them on Minitrack. I couldn't get
that's
them on
fine, yeah.
Minitrack.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
you know, this way the town board gets to review these codes like a week before they go to work session.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right,
They
thank
went out, but we'll make sure we get them out.
All right.
Yeah, I agree because we got
Appreciate
this the
that.
night
Thank you.
before. We don't know what's up because we don't put a lot of work into it. I know my office because
Yeah.
if you look at today's agenda, 2 people couldn't make it and this and that. So, but it gives us time to digest. So,
Yeah.
and that's the purpose of doing it on Monday is sending it out with as much additions that we need to support material.
Yeah.
So that's why we started on Monday, and we'd like to try to stay,
Yeah.
with that. He raises a good point, and
Yeah,
I know
no.
it's not an issue with you.
Yeah,
so
for
thank
me
you.
it would be a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
'cause
good. As soon as-
I'm just
Yeah.
getting lucky.
Oh, you're on your phone. Like last night, it was in a van, and you're trying to read stuff on the phone.
Yeah, no,
and
it's hard, yeah.
You're trying to text, and then you're
So you're
rushing
looking for
here.
the underline, yeah.
Yeah, and we're like, how do I have time to ask questions? So that would be really great. And you guys always have a lot of material, which is good.
Fortunately, today they're pretty simple.
Okay.
So,
Oh, like one word. I
yeah.
love it.
Well, one sentence. So for the first one, this is 225-11. This is Type 1 actions. 225 is what we call our local secret code. As the board may be aware, you as the legislators have the power to designate your own Type 1 and Type 2 actions. However, everyone in the state is bound by the state's Type 1 list and the state's Type 2 list. So this is really just adding clarifying language to 225-11B. So that's what designates the Type 1 actions. Says, in addition, the following are deemed Type 1 actions, and then we're just adding the sentence, provided they are not designated as Type 2 in Section 5 of Part 617, which is the state's Type 2 list. So this is ensuring you get a small project that you might look at it first and say, oh, it's a Type 1 because it's in a historic district, but it might already be a Type 2 on the state list, so you have to go with the state's list.
Okay, so they take precedence.
They take precedence.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Higher level
yeah,
government.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So you already have to do that, but this just so everyone knows and it's easier to understand. So if the board supports publish and post for this, we can have a public hearing.
I have no problem with that. Anyone else want to
Move ahead.
move forward?
Yeah, I'm moving.
Okay, you got it.
Got it.
That was easy. You're right.
Easy one.
Okay, so don't go anywhere, guys and girls. We now have Dawn again and Matt up to discuss the following matters surrounding Chapter 201, Part 6 of the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. And take it away, guys.
So if the board recalls, last August 2nd, we adopted the Long Island Workforce Housing Regulations into the town code, basically with 2 provisions for compliance, just so everyone's aware. When you have to comply, you have a subdivision of more than 5 lots, you have to comply with it, or if you have a site plan that involves multifamily housing and you're maximizing your FAR, you also have to comply. So when we adopted 2 provisions for compliance. That was the density bonus. So if you're maximizing your FAR in a site plan, or if you're maximizing your residential yield, you get a 10% increase. Generally, it's 1 lot. Sometimes it's more, depending how big the subdivision is. Or you would pay a fee in lieu of providing the housing, which I think it's 1.5 times the median income of a family in 4 in the Nassau-Suffolk statistical area. So it's a little bit of a complex.
Which is over 150,000 a
Correct.
year, so.
Yeah, so it's quite a big payment. So what this amendment does, we're adding a 3rd option, which you're allowed to do. So this would be to provide off-site housing. So if you look at 301, 359, so that would be to construct an affordable unit off-site, but we did have the caveat that it has to be within the same hamlet. and within the same school district. Obviously, we don't want, any kind of density affecting one school district or another or one hamlet. We feel like if your development is in a certain hamlet in a certain school district, your affordable housing should go there as well.
Correct.
That's pretty much it. And the language mirrors itself for site plans and subdivisions, but more options. And just so the board's aware, it's always the reviewing board's authority to decide how they comply unless the developer chooses to lower their yield or lower the density for their site plan so they can reduce by 1 and not have to comply. But if they're going to comply with the Workforce Housing Act, it's this board or the planning board that says how the developer has to do it.
Makes sense to me.
Okay,
More options are,
Right, absolutely.
yeah.
yeah. Options are good.
How much workforce do we have here?
I don't know the number of workforce because it's a special category.
Yeah, so there's,
Yeah, it is, yeah.
different levels of affordability, so you're gonna have low income or you
Right.
have workforce, so, but just in the general affordability category in the downtown area, we have close to 40%.
Yeah.
And then townwide.
That's pretty high.
Townwide,
Yeah.
we
For towns,
about 20%.
we
yeah.
definitely have our share.
Yes,
Whoa.
Yeah, we do. And I knew it was that high. I didn't know it was that high. I knew it was high, but I think we're the highest in Suffolk County with those numbers,
yeah,
correct?
we've done a great job making sure that we have, different
We have
levels
done
of
it.
income, affordability in our housing stock. So our gap now, and I know we've discussed this before, is in that ownership
Yeah.
category.
I'm so excited about
Yeah,
that.
so we're working
Yeah.
very hard on that, and this gives more opportunities, as Matt
Absolutely.
suggested, because sometimes a developer has other properties, but also sometimes we get property transferred to us for affordable housing from the county through the tax, 72H process. So that would allow us to work with a developer to get a project done on one of those parcels, and that's a good.
Dawn, you might want to check with Anne Marie. Just recently, I think there was 2 properties that were
Yeah,
put forward. Are you familiar with
I'm
that?
familiar with.
Oh, okay. I might have forwarded to you too. Okay.
So one of the things that I see with affordable housing, and I don't know if we can put this in the code or not, but I would really like it to make it so that, 1, they need 24-hour security, 2, 24-hour management, okay, or at least full-time during the day, management, security, and super
Maintenance.
maintenance,
Yeah.
right?
I
Because
think
it's not fair.
the IDA is working on making sure that anything, going forward would be conditioned in that way.
That's an IDA project, but I mean, if we put it in our code, right, then the IDA automatically has to follow that. They have to pass that on in their IDA contracts, right? So I'm just, because, we've struggled with that. And I don't want to see the town have to struggle with that anymore, especially when it comes to using our resources as security. I'm not asking the taxpayers for money for police to be security for particular buildings.
Yeah,
It's
no.
totally unfair.
We understand, and we're working on partnerships with these,
But I'm wondering if
Areas.
we can codify this.
I don't know, especially with this, because it deals with such specific legislation, I don't know that we can add that as a.
Well, I don't know in this
Issue?
particular
Really, we're
section.
talking about multifamily housing, and
Multifamily,
so
yeah.
there's,
I'm not being
have
specific
limited
to this code.
multifamily going forward,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
also, so.
But we're encouraging that, and we're encouraging good management
When
practices.
you
We
talk
have a lot
about
of people
developments,
coming back.
I want to do more than encourage is a word that you can take it any way you want.
Understood, yeah.
But if we make it so that it's a requirement,
Yeah,
because look, they're getting state, federal
Yeah.
funding.
yeah. I
Right.
think we'd have to be careful equal protection wise, but I think it's a definite.
Well, I'm doing it so that they get protection.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, but yeah.
All right, I'll let you go.
We'll
I'm
further
I'm
discuss.
throwing it out there. We can
Absolutely.
further discuss. Thank you.
Perfect.
That's all.
The one thing that bothers me the most about all this is actually the formula that is used to determine what's affordable, what is affordable housing. Because when you look at these places that are saying they're affordable housing, rents are $2,800 a month, $2,600 a month. That's not really affordable housing, because if you look at the income requirements to fit into those categories, you're basically working to pay your rent. And I would like to see that formula changed where you get a little bit more leeway and you don't have to spend so much on rent and the requirements change. Because I know it's like a combination of Long Island, Nassau, and Suffolk County housing prices and incomes and everything else. And as we know, the island is so different everywhere you go. And what's affordable in Oyster Bay may not be affordable in
Yeah.
Jamesport.
Absolutely.
So, these things, unfortunately, I know it's above our pay grade here at the town level,
Yeah.
but it's something I think we need to support and try to make better, that so many young people just can't get out from underneath
Yeah, absolutely.
that, or can't get out from underneath their parents' wings. And, it's unfortunate because everybody wants that White House with a picket fence. But on Long Island, it's very difficult to get that. So.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point you make, because there's a lot of stigma attached to, low income or affordable housing.
Right.
But when you consider, 60% or below would be considered affordable for that AMI, area median income for Long Island, now Suffolk,
Right.
which is over 150,000. So 60%
Qualify,
of
yeah.
150,000,
Yeah.
catches
Right.
a lot of people
Catches
that
a
are
lot of people.
it's
I mean, look at the salaries we pay our workers. It's difficult when you're starting out and first getting a job,
and you have maybe school debt or
and then throw in if you're contributing to health insurance,
Child
car
care,
insurance,
yeah.
and everything else that you need. It's very difficult.
very difficult.
And it has for us, they have, they're subsidizing some places, some people up to 22. I think the threshold has really come up high.
Yeah.
I've heard of some people that have 3 bedrooms that are getting subsidized, 2 kids, $3,500 a month. So
Yeah, that Section 8 has changed their
dramatically,
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, I think we all agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
Just again on this one, if the board is in favor, it can do a publish and post.
Yes,
Yeah, public
yes,
hearing.
absolutely.
Great.
The more options, the better.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so too.
Agree.
Good.
That is all.
That was it.
That's it? You want to go in, we'll call you back, just for fun?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, for our final discussion item, we have a proposed code change, and I'm going to ask Town Attorney Eric Howard and Investigator Rich Downs to come forward to discuss the matters surrounding change to Chapter 207, Animals Regarding Domestic Fowl. This one's going to be really interesting.
Yes, it is. We have
Yeah.
received numerous complaints, and more lately, regarding roosters in residential areas.
Okay, take it from there, guys. Let's see.
People are, a lot of people are putting chickens in their yard and, for their own eggs, and that's awesome. That's great. But you don't need a rooster to have a chicken lay eggs. And unfortunately, the rooster knows not much difference other than when the sun starts to come up, he's got to squawk and make noise. And in a neighborhood or a residential area, that's not absolutely the best thing we can have. So we sat down with Code Revision and Town Attorney's Office, and Rich Downs did a great job on this, coming up with a draft here of things we can do to prohibit roosters from residential areas. And there's also some other guidelines in here, and I'll let Rich explain, but it deals with the size of the pen and the coop and where it can be placed on the property and everything else. But as laughable as this might sound, it's actually a very annoying situation if you happen to live next to a rooster
Yeah.
or a couple of roosters.
So they're violating the noise code. How does that work with bail reform and roosters
Oh,
getting
jeez.
catch and release?
Well, we tried to remove their vocal cords, but they said that was too drastic, so.
I can tell you, we
Decided
do
to
get,
ban
we
'em.
do get quite a bit of complaints as of lately regarding the noise in roosters, so.
Rich, I was going to say one thing, because I think to you, what Tim said, a lot of people don't realize that you don't need a rooster to get eggs.
Absolutely
Correct.
not.
And I buy farm fresh eggs from locally all the time, so but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with chickens and roosters, I can remember getting complaints going all the way back to when I first started in 2017. So it's always sort of been a persistent problem. The way the code is drafted right now, the only thing we can do is require people to maintain chickens that they have on their own property, and it's a violation if it goes on to someone else's property. So Rich did a lot of research, looked at some other municipalities to see if they have code that regulates the keeping of chickens, roosters, that sort of thing, and put together this piece of code brought it to code revision, and I went over it and added a couple changes that I thought would be pertinent for the town. And,
Just have a question, are there codes in adjoining municipalities that you could look at to see how they deal with it?
Well, and that's what Rich did.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Yeah. So as
Can
to
you
the
give us a rundown on that?
Which townships?
But you
have
did the
regulations?
research, right? So can we look at Southampton, Brookhaven, South Hall?
Brookhaven has a ban on roosters. Huntington has a ban on.
South Hall and Southampton?
I don't think South Hall.
Those are our neighbors, yeah.
But it's important to note that this code does not apply to agricultural properties.
That's where I'm having a problem.
Yeah, that does not apply to those properties that are bona fide agricultural
You got
properties.
duck farm, you still have a duck farm out here. You need to protect that farm.
This
It's the
code,
last one.
Yeah, this code only applies to those residential properties in residential districts where single-family homes are located.
So they can still have chickens.
Yes,
Just not
yes,
roosters.
and you do not need a permit to get a coop or a pen. However, you do have to comply with certain setbacks, okay? And the keeping of the pen and the feed, because
So-
sometimes the feed will bring rodents and rats. So we just wanted to kind of nail down a code that supports that, and we can regulate it.
Have you looked at distances at all? Because I'm saying to myself, that sometimes we have property that's maybe you don't have a house for half a mile. Now you're going to ban the roosters. Nobody's going to really hear them. I mean, have we looked at that? There are certain areas the house is sparse here in Riverhead. So are we going to say that's it for everybody, or are we going to say maybe give some distances?
Well,
No,
they're in a
no.
residential area.
Yeah,
That's what
we-
we're concerned with.
This is designed.
Yeah,
to
residential.
target-
You have
this
some
is-
people have a lot of property.
This is designed
Yeah.
to target residential properties where the primary use is a single-family residence or a two-family home.
Neighborhoods.
If there's a desire amongst the board to create or carve out some kind of exemption or exceptions from.
I think
from
you
the
should put a
regulation
distance exception.
based on a distance that you would be from another residential
I think you
property.
could.
We can look into that.
Yeah, because
If you don't mind.
to Yvette's point, if somebody has 5 acres or 10 acres,
Yeah.
I mean, they have a rooster. The other thing I would ask you to do, because this came up when I was on the Ag Committee, is just please have them weigh in on this. You know, just so they're aware of this. Because this did come up, and same thing. You know, this goes way back too. A lot of noise complaints, blah blah blah, and so I think it would be good for them to weigh in on it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
I think COVID really put
Yeah.
A lot of
idea
people.
in people's heads to have their own chickens and their own supply of eggs. So I think that sort of was the impetus.
Cindy
behind it.
McNamara in
Yeah.
Southampton learned how to.
We've seen a substantial.
Yeah, it was, and she loved it. She
In the number
fed off of it, gave stuff to
Get
the
coops at
neighbors.
Agway for a while because
Yeah.
they sold
Right.
Yeah, they were. So and I'm going to watch some of this, make sure that we don't too aggressive
So would it make
with
sense?
the legislation.
So would it make sense to have the Ag Committee weigh in and look at? I agree to the point where, and I totally, you know, if you're in neighborhoods that are 1 acre or even less,
Right.
and I know that's where you're getting most of your complaints, but
Right.
You
I
are.
don't know what the threshold is. I know with farming, if you have 3 acres and you have chickens, you know that law is on the books.
Well, we
right?
could say it just applies to RA 80 and RA 40, right? Or to the
Well,
specific
we-
zones.
Ideally, we could.
Yeah.
But there are exceptions within that area too.
Oh, okay.
where We
Right.
would run into
Yeah, that makes sense,
situations,
right.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With the
so
We
zoning.
looked at that.
Yeah, we really wanted to just drill down on the single family and two family uses, because that's where you're gonna have more density typically.
I'm fighting for the roosters. Make sure that I can see if the houses are on top of each other, but I'm fighting for the roosters.
Okay, everybody, if you're looking to get rid of your roosters, Yvette's address is
Actually, they're forbidding in my community.
So you know, and
I always wanted
understand
them.
your intent. I would weigh in with the Ag Committee and then come back.
That's great.
Yeah, we
and
should.
then, you know,
And look at the distances. I would say if you
because
have 2 acres or
they-
more.
They feel
Yeah,
the
no,
same
I agree.
way.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
I know one property that actually was going to buy. It wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, and there was acreage out there, and the house is sitting all the way up. It was off River Avenue, and the house is sitting up there, and you have a long road to get there. If you have a rooster, nobody's going to hear it. And so we're a farm country, right? It's part of
I
farming.
agree.
Well, part of it also could be looked at through the noise law and the decibels of what a rooster crows at
Right.
versus the distance you are from your neighbor. I mean,
That's a
it's
possibility.
silly to say, but it might be a way to look at it and say that's how we can
Yeah.
determine whether it's, legal or not legal.
Yeah, I think it's a little too strict right now. So let's just explore some other possibilities and get back to us. That'd be great.
You have a decibel reader? You go out with a decibel reader?
Yeah, we do.
And it has to be early in the morning, by the way.
Cheap alarm
Sometimes with the
clocks.
noise code, though, it becomes a little bit subjective. So
I
we want to just, be-
We didn't own a rooster, but somebody next to us up in Windham Mountain. Crazy about it, but I would hear it up in the morning, and I knew it was daylight and it was nature. And when it went missing, an animal ate it. I missed it actually. So
Okay.
We're gonna
Yep.
get you a rooster alarm clock.
Well, I'm
Rooster
sure there's
alarm clock.
probably arguments on both sides.
I'm sure they exist, by the way.
In the morning too, so.
All right, if you can just finish those parts on, that would be great. Thank
In
you.
fact, if you email it to Rob Carpenter, just let him circulate it.
Yeah, Phil Schmidt and Rob Carpenter, yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll look at it, and again, we've been through this, and look, I understand, and I think they're going to agree. And again, educating people that you don't need a rooster to have eggs, Devin.
Having said that, though, don't stop raising your chickens because there's nothing better than a
I
fresh
totally
egg.
agree.
Nothing better
Yep,
than a
you
fresh
can-
egg.
I agree.
Look at the color of
Totally
the
agree.
yolk, and you know you.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Consistency
Deal.
of the white, it's just altogether different.
Yep.
Thank you. All
All right. Thank you.
right, guys, be safe.
In a commercial for farm fresh egg.
This is, okay, that was actually a very enlightening topic to
Good
bring
work
up.
session. I mean,
Yeah. Okay, anyone has, you're still smiling on that one. Anyone has anything else? Guys, you're good?
Nope.
Nobody wants to come to the podium? Come on. Come on, Tim,
Alex, you have nothing
Alex,
to say?
Devin. Oh, meeting's adjourned. Okay, the press is calling the meeting. All right, thank you, everyone. This concludes our discussion items. In a moment, I'm going to ask for a first and a second to enter executive session to discuss the following. We have matters surrounding possible legal action against CMA Mines, and that will be with Howard. And the second topic will be personnel matters surrounding the suspension of an employee. That will be with myself. Can I have a first and a second to enter into executive session, please?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So move. Everyone be safe and see you on Saturday for the Halloween activities that start at 2 o'clock.